Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about something that's sort of doing the rounds as a bit of a talking point at the moment, and it's called, or generically at least referred to as competitive mismatch. Now, this can be looked at in a number of ways, but what it basically means is that in whether it be in education or in the workplace, people should be, students or workers should be put together with people of similar caliber, similar capability, similar intellect, similar skills, similar experience, so that nobody feels diminished or feels that their social or their confidence is being undermined, or they feel bad about themselves and so on. Now, this feeds into other sort of dialectics that are quite Marxist about equal outcomes and safe spaces and nonsense like that. So now, say in the case of college admissions and things like that, somebody might, an average student who's a black lesbian may be given a place in an elite university where people need typically, or at least there was a time when they would need, they would have to be a plus grade student to get in. But now a B- student is given a place, and maybe they're an okay student, they're average, they're not like they're really bad or anything, but they're nowhere near the standard that the brightest kids in the country are, and so they get to this university and they think, holy shit, I'm a nobody, I'm a bum, I can't do shit because all these other people are way smarter than me. In even the slightest conversation, even any conversation about anything, they're leaving me behind after the first word. I'm feeling really out of place. I feel like a dunce. I feel like an idiot, and I'm feeling really bad about myself. So I'm going to accuse them all of being racist, homophobe, misogynists, and yada yada yada. There's no way I can compete with them. So what I have to do, or what I have to demand, is that they all dumb themselves down. So they're the same as me, and then whether that's done by drugs or by an equal some sort of white supremacy induction course. I don't care how it's done, says the average black lesbian, but I want it done, so I don't feel bad about myself. So someone comes along and says, well, hey, look, that's not a problem. What we'll do is we'll put you in a college that's full of average kids who are at the same level as you. No, I don't want that. I wanted the very top. I want the elite. They have to all change for me. That's what has to happen. Now, that's the insanity of the competitive mismatch. And when we go into the workplace, it's kind of a little bit different. But just going back to education, certainly when I was at high school, they divided kids into sort of streams. So if you, for example, I'll simplify this a little bit, but if you got 90% in the exam, everyone had the same exact same exam. So if you got 90% in the exam, you'd be in the top grade. If you got 80%, you'd be in grade 2, 70% grade 3, and so on. And in some, depending on how many kids in the school, in some schools you'd have eight grades. So kids that were getting 20% or less would be in the 8th grade, and so on. So, and they tend, but if you started to perform better in the exams, so you had been getting 20% in the exam, but then you were getting 50%, for example, 60% or whatever, then they would put you up a few classes. So they wanted to keep kids of the same sort of ability together. Now, this was attacked by social engineers to say, well, if you put a really dumb kid with a whole bunch of bright kids, that dumb kid is going to have to work much, much harder. The classroom has a better quality the more advanced classroom has a better quality teacher, was the fantasy they pushed, has better resources. Teachers are more likely to spend time with the kids, after school giving tuition or things like that. And there were teachers that were quite dedicated. Not that many, by the way, but they existed. And so if you put dumb kids amongst lots of bright kids, then the dumb kids will have to try much harder to keep up, and then they'll do better as students. Now, that may have been true. So if you put the 20% kid with the 90% class, then that kid may go from 20% to 50%, but they probably won't get to 90%. The 90% kids are naturally bright. That kid's unlikely to be naturally bright. Sure, they may work harder to keep up. They're around kids that are studying harder. They're around kids that are spending more time in the library instead of goofing off, and so it may have an effect, but it's unlikely to move them. So they're still going to feel out of place with those much brighter kids. That was sort of very much a sort of thoughts that were going around, like, I don't know, around the 80s or something. They had the same view with, if you take, say, you go to government housing estates that are absolutely rampant with crime of every imaginable type. But if you take a family out of that environment and you put them in the middle of a good middle class tree-lined street, everyone's well behaved, crime's very low. If you move them out of there into a very low crime middle class area, then their behavior will improve. There's no other bad people to associate with, so they kind of have to improve their behavior because there's no one around them that will condone it or accept it or believe it's an acceptable way of behaving. Therefore, their behavior will improve. Now, this did work in some cases. Some kids, their behavior, or some families, their behavior did improve, but it didn't happen all the time. There was some of the time it improved, but not enough. They just took their bad attitudes and criminal behavior and whatnot into the good area, and contaminated that rather than were decontaminated by it. Now, the same could be said for this competitive mismatch. Now, so instead of looking at competition to improve somebody's attitude or status or education or behavior, whatever, instead of that, the reverse came. The Marxist argument eventually applied, where competitive mismatch is if you put someone really dumb in an elite class or an elite college of really bright kids, then you have to dumb all the bright kids down so that the dumb kid doesn't feel out of place. And in order to justify it, you just say that all the bright kids are white supremacists or Nazis or fascists or misogynists or transphobes, so you guilt trip and shame them to be as dumb as you can make them. So it makes everybody feel better. And it makes a dumb kid say, well, I may be dumb, and I may be nowhere as bright as those guys, but I'm morally superior because they're all Nazis, they're all Hitler. So that's kind of the thinking that's gone into it. Now you see this creeping into, well, not creeping into, it's all over. It's rampant in the fucking work sector, the workplace as well, not just simply education, but in the workplace. So now this is where it shouldn't be happening. In education, you kind of see the Marxist communist sort of touch to it all, but in the workplace, in what's meant to be a capitalist competitive market environment, you're not really supposed to see the competitive mismatch, but it's happening, and it's widespread. So and personnel, or HR operatives, they used to be called personnel, HR operatives, and diversity, equity, inclusion directors, all these sort of people, they're brazen about this, that the new world is that we hire totally unqualified affirmative action people, but then we don't want them to feel like they're out of place. We don't want them to feel bad about themselves. So we have to make sure that we don't hire any high quality, high caliber, very capable, experienced, credentialed. We don't hire those people because it'll make the affirmative action hires feel bad about themselves. So that then means that we have to hire more dumb people, more unqualified people, more lazy people, more entitled people. We have to hire more of them so that the affirmative action people we've already hired don't feel bad about themselves or don't feel diminished or don't feel degraded in any way. Now, look, speaking from personal experience, I won schoolboys, high school chess championship for a district, and I thought I was hot shit for as a chess player, and this is many years ago, as you can imagine. But a guy I knew I didn't know him that well, but I knew him in the street. Like, he lived in the street I was in, and I bumped into him. I'd mentioned the chess thing. I don't know how it came up in conversation, but it turns out he was a chess champion of some caliber, and he'd actually gone for he'd been in a tournament of aspiring chess grandmasters, so he was way up there in the lofty heights. But and he said, look, there's a few grandmasters getting together in Sydney. It's kind of informal. It wasn't a formal International Chess Federation thing. He said, would you like to come? I thought, yeah, hey. Now, I thought I'd be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with those dudes and play chess with them. I mean, I was just obliterated, absolutely blown away. Out of I think it was over a series of few days. I think like over 100 matches, I got one stalemate, 99 thrashings. That's how not competitive I was with those guys. Absolutely blown away. And that sort of, I remember I felt terrible. I thought, whoa, where's the nearest tall building? And, it was I felt really bad about myself, humiliated even. But the point was, I'd overestimated my capacity in chess. I thought because I won a district schoolboys out of 3 or 4 high schools or something, because I won that I was international hot shit. But the reality was, I was nowhere near grandmaster, nowhere near it. Somebody said, look, if you got a stalemate with an aspiring grandmaster, you're not doing too bad. But maybe that's so. But I got beat 99 times, and not beat as in a close run thing, but absolutely slaughtered. So that's when that's when I was competing with people that I wasn't competitive with, nowhere near competitive. Now, it is a good way to improve your game, because you do lift your standard, but I still wasn't at their standard, because I came back to play, after those thrashings, I came back to play against other guys who before had, we were having close matches. And I was surprised at how much I'd improved as a result of it. But my intention was to improve. I wanted to be better. I wanted to go to a higher standard. That was always my sort of goal or attitude or view about things. Well, if you're getting beat, too bad. Improve your game until you don't get beat. That was my attitude, which is quite different from the attitude now, which has gone in sort of the inverse of that, where I can't compete. I can't compete with these people, and I'm not even going to try and do better or improve myself. I'm going to want them to be dumber, to come down to my level so I can feel better. I will not refuse to try and improve myself, because that's just white supremacy, Hitler. So those things, those attitudes of everyone has to dumb down so I feel better is all pervasive. And this is in sports, I guess, but I saw it in other areas. I remember there was I was never a good tennis player, but I was all right, I suppose. It was good for picking up chicks. But there was the schoolboys, like he was a 14, like the under 13s or under 14s champion, tennis champion of one of the Australian states, and he must have been pretty good. Yeah, like he was only 13 or something. So I went to. He said, you want to play a game? I said, yeah, sure. And I thought I'd blast him off the court, but and I even invited this girl I was dating, hey, come and watch me, sort of murder this school kid. And I got blasted off the court. I mean, seriously, I got blown away. I don't think I got a single point. I mean, the guy just tore me to pieces. He was really good. But again, I'd overestimated the thing. But rather than say, well, why don't I just tie his legs together, or tie one arm behind his back, or handicap him somehow. Rather than do that to win, I just had to become a better player. I had to try harder, practice harder, do more practice, that sort of thing. That was always my attitude. Now that attitude's gone. This attitude of I'll improve, and this was the same at school or college. There were some pretty bright kids around, and I had to make a call. Say, well, there's something about that guy is naturally bright. He's like really bright, or he's prepared to put in 1 million hours of study every week. I'm not prepared to do that. If I want to be as good as him, I have to be prepared to make those same sacrifices, as in hours of study. So I'd make a judgment. Am I prepared to do that? Nah. Then I have to accept I'm not going to be as good as him, as in exam results, that sort of stuff. But otherwise, the onus is on me to do better, and I always took that view. And it used to be a widespread view. When I first started working, for example, the attitude was, as us young sort of trainees, the young executive of tomorrow, that sort of crap. We all took the view that we had to learn, and anything we couldn't do, we must learn it. We must be proficient. We must do better. We must improve. And we must be capable, and we must have the confidence in ourselves that through hard work and application and perseverance, we will do better and can do better, and improve, our situations. And this is not the attitude you see today. Hey, you're a white supremacist. That's why it's white privilege that's getting, Why do I have to try? You had to dumb down to my level. All these sorts of things. So this is where the competitive mismatch has gone off the rails, and HR operatives that we come across in our business all the time, that's the line they take. We have to hire unqualified dumbass people, so the dumbasses we've already hired through affirmative action don't feel bad about themselves. It's a recipe for a dystopian fucking disaster, and it's unfolding right in front of our eyes. You've been with Taskless today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.